Good morning. Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Free Press Media Press Inc., an alternative parties books publisher, sponsors this podcast. I'm Andrew Bouchard.
Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Today, friends, we have another exciting guest on this podcast like we always do. We're talking with Beth Ritter-Guth of the Carbon County Libertarian Party. So welcome to the podcast, Beth.
Thank you so much for having me, Andrew. I appreciate the opportunity.
We are glad to have you, and we look forward to what you're going to talk to us about. So let's get started by you kindly giving us an introduction to yourself, a brief biographical sketch.
All right. Well, my name is Beth Ritter-Guth, and I'm the Vice President of the Carbon County Libertarian Party. I'm an elected Election Day Constable as a Libertarian in Carbon County. And I think I am the only elected Libertarian in Carbon County. Not quite sure about that, but I think I am. It's a smaller county in eastern Pennsylvania. I was an English professor for a very long time. Now I'm an associate dean, and I specialize in AI and virtual reality and things like that. So I do a lot of different things. I got into the Libertarian Party because I was an intern for Congress and Senate for the Republican Party. I was a Republican for a very long time. And I became a Libertarian about 15 years ago.
Okay, that's a lot of good stuff for us to talk about. Good basis. So kindly tell us, since you were a professor, how did that inform your politics?
Well, I originally went to college to be a political speechwriter. I wanted to be Peggy Noonan, who was the first female speechwriter for Ronald Reagan. I had read her book when I was, I think in high school, and I really, really wanted to be a political speechwriter. So I went to college and I majored in English, and I double majored in communication and minored in philosophy, and then for a brief period also minored in theater because I wanted not to be an actress, but to learn how to help. You know, as a speechwriter, you coach, public speakers like presidents and things like that. So I did that very briefly, and then I interned. My mother was very active in the Republican Party locally in Lehigh County in Pennsylvania, and so her friend Frasso, who was very active in the party, helped me get internships with our Republican congressman at the time, who our last name is the same, Ritter, because that's a very common name here, but no relation. And then I interned with Arlen Specter. And it was amazing. It was amazing opportunities. And then I lived briefly in Washington while I was working for the Close-Up Foundation. While I was waiting to go, I had been accepted to grad school or law school. And after that, the internships and living in Washington, I absolutely decided that I hated politics and that I didn't want any part of it. And so I decided to go to grad school to be an English professor.
Interesting.
So that's the story.
So kindly tell us about Carbon County. That's a county I didn't hear about before until I found you. So kindly tell us the demographics of the county.
Carbon County is amazing. So I was born and raised in Pennsylvania, but I was raised in Bethlehem, Lehigh County.
All right.
A very small section of Bethlehem. My father was a steelworker. I come from a line of steelworkers and a steelworker community, and so we had moved around a little bit. And when we decided to move back to Pennsylvania, when I accepted my current position, I wanted to live in a hometown. And Bethlehem, where I'm from, is very big now. It's a great town, but it's very big, and I really wanted to live in a hometown. And so we came to Palmerton, and which is where I live now. And Carbon County is amazing. It's hardworking people who are, they really are the salt of the earth people. There was, if you're familiar with the geography, I live right on the Appalachian Trail, which is one of the reasons I moved here. And there used to be zinc mining here, so with New Jersey Zinc. So for a long time, the mountain was bare, but they did some really amazing work to bring back parts of the mountain through private funding. They relied on no government funding to do that, and the Superfund project. And it's just hardworking people, like salt of the earth, just good people And, but definitely a lot of mining communities, a lot of mining families that have mining in their family. And we're at the base of the Pocono Mountains. So we're at the edge of the Lehigh Valley and then at the base of the Pocono Mountains. So
okay.
definitely.
So how big is Carbon County?
I don't know offhand how many current people we have. It's a pretty big county, but it covers a lot of like farmland. So I'm going to actually look it up so that I'm not talking out of my rear end. Mm-hmm. So Carbon County, according, let's see. I'm not quite sure what the population is. I want to say maybe about 65,000 live in.
For the whole county?
Yeah, in the whole county. We have a lot of farmlands. We have a lot of farms here. The county seat's in Jim Thorpe, and that used to be called Mock Chunk. Jim Thorpe was an Olympian. We have an amazing railway, a scenic railway there, and lots of really cool shops in Jim Thorpe. Palmerton, where I live, has a lot of great shops. The trail kind of meanders through all these little towns and ends up in Delaware Water Gap in Monroe County.
Okay.
And I think I want to say 1845 is when it became a county, something like that.
1845.
1840. Yeah, something like that. 1840s, somewhere along the lines in there.
Huh.
It became a county.
So
it's
older for Pennsylvania then, because Pennsylvania was one of the original colonies.
Yep.
So if it's rural, I take it there's a lot of white people in the area?
Well, we don't have as much diversity as, let's say, like Philadelphia. Absolutely.
Okay.
We don't have as much diversity as Lehigh County or Northampton County, which are our two biggest counties near us, and the Lehigh Valley in general. I think we're seeing a little bit more diversity moving up into Carbon County. When we first moved in, my husband's best friend is Puerto Rican. And so when we had moved in, the person next door to us, who was Cuban, started speaking Spanish to our friend, and he got so excited because our friend answered back in Spanish. So there aren't a lot of Spanish speakers up here, but I think that's changing. I think one of the things is we don't have a lot of public transportation here. We do have one bus that goes down into Allentown, so we don't have taxi service. There's no trains up here. You really have to have kind of a car if you're going to work anywhere outside of the town. So there's not the same kind of resources that exist in a town like Allentown or Bethlehem or Philadelphia.
Sure. So since you're vice president of the Libertarian Party of the area, kindly tell us what roles and responsibilities that involves.
Well, it's actually a very new group because it was started by a young man, a very young man named Matt. He had started it at the last presidential election just so that people knew that there was, a third party option. Pennsylvania has a lot of different third parties. We have the Green Party. That's probably, Republican is the predominant party in Carbon County, Democrat Party followed by Libertarians, and then the Green Party, and there's some other parties too. So I think his vision was just to let people know that there were other choices. When it came to the presidential debate, our candidate Joe Jorgensen, if people weren't happy with Trump or Biden, they could pick Joe. I think that was the vision. We do actually have, I think, in Palmerton we have 7 libertarians, which I'm one of them. So there are 6 others out there.
That's good.
It hasn't taken great hold, but I think a lot of our Republicans are very libertarian thinking. But as you know, as a third party, you don't get to vote in a primary, and up here primaries are very important because people want to have a say in who's going to run on that November ballot. So I think a lot of people would vote they voted for me. I'm just an elected constable, so I don't do, in Pennsylvania, constables can do a lot of different things, but I only work on election day. And I got elected in my town, but I also got elected in the 2 surrounding towns as a write-in, even though I can't serve those populations because they don't live there. So I think people aren't opposed to libertarianism, but they really prefer to stay in their own party, which is the Republican Party.
So it sounds like the role is in development.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is, up here in Carbon County, which is different than Lehigh and Northampton counties, a lot of the Republicans do really align with libertarian beliefs. We're we're big supporters of free speech, big supporters of firearms rights. So because it's more of a conservative area anyway, like a lot of those things are sort of in common with what people believe. So, and I would say, they're very hardworking. They really want their tax money to stay in their own pockets. So, they are very libertarian in belief anyway. Even I would say our Republican leadership in the area, Bill Heffley, very, very libertarian minded in his Republican, belief system. So, I think people don't see a need to come over to the Libertarian Party because they operate under those ideals.
I see. So they're happy with the ideology wherever it's at, whether it's in the Republican Party or in the Libertarian Party.
Right. And I think for them, they really, the people here really vote for good people. They want good people who have morals, people who are decent. And that doesn't mean like hyper religious or anything like that. They just want people who are going to be honest. They prefer people who have a working class background. And they, people are very active in local government and participate, in town council and, in borough councils and things like that. So they're, I think you see a lot more involvement in the smaller towns than you do maybe in a bigger town like Philadelphia or Allentown or Bethlehem.
I see. So given that you were mentioning that you're a constable, when I think constable, I think in Texas, they're the people that give out papers to people like evictions and stuff. And then you said you're an election constable. How does that work in Pennsylvania? What do they mean by constable in your position?
So it's different. So I'm glad you asked that because it is very different state to state and county to county. In Carbon County, I could, if I wanted to, I could certify as a constable that delivers search warrants and arrests and things like that. And I could, carry a gun and, have a special car and do prisoner transport. I could do those things. I work full time, so I choose not to do those things.
Okay.
The thing you have to do the only thing you have to do as an elected constable, and the reason I ran, the wonderful man who was our constable for the constable seat, I think is 6 years each. He was the constable for like 15 years. I think he was wonderful, but he retired. And so nobody was willing to run for the seat. And then that means the seat gets appointed. And I didn't want it to get appointed. I wanted somebody, so on election day, my job literally is to go and make sure that people behave at the polls. So
okay.
everybody has an opportunity to go in, Democrats, Republicans, Socialist Party, whatever. Everybody follows the rules about being 10 feet away from the door to hand out their stuff. Nobody is looking over the shoulder of anybody. If there's any complaints, I handle Palmerton, which is where I'm elected, but I do handle some of the other local ones too because they don't have a constable of their own.
Oh.
And so I do that for both the primary, which I can't vote in because as a third party, I can't vote in the primaries, but I still serve. And then I serve on election day. And it's a little bit more heated, like it'll be very heated at the next presidential, because people get very, very emotional about their candidates. And I think I'm in a perfect position because I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, so I don't have skin in either one of their games. And I know it's very likely that my candidate isn't going to win. So I'm there to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to vote without persecution, that everybody has integrity in the process. They know they have a person that they can come to, and they've come to me. Voters have come to me if they think that things aren't going right inside, and then people outside have come to me. People inside that are working the polls have contacted me because people were being, disrespectful to them. So it's really just helping to make sure that the voting process is positive for everybody and that everybody's following the rules.
I see. Yeah, it does sound like you're in a good position since you wouldn't have a bias towards one party or another.
Yep.
If they had another constable, they would have a bias, and that could make things more challenging.
And if somebody was appointed, you never know. Like you would hope that they would appoint somebody who would also celebrate that equity, but you never know. And so when nobody ran, I'm like, well, somebody has to run. Somebody has to be chosen. Right?
Yes.
Like that's the way our system works. We have this opportunity to choose people. So I was a write-in campaign because they do make it very difficult for third parties to run for office. They changed the rules, they changed the dates, they changed the paper it had to be on, so I couldn't get on the ballot. But then, and they do really make it hard for third parties. So I just did a write-in campaign, and I wasn't running opposed, so I just needed like 2 votes. But people voted, and I was glad that they voted. And I was glad they voted in other towns around here than my own. It was very nice that they knew who I was and supported the work I do, because I think they know that I'm trying to establish a fair and equitable approach to voting.
Yes. Yes, that's a victory we need to acknowledge, that you won that office as a Libertarian, so that's something to celebrate.
Absolutely. Because there aren't many. I think I'm the only one in Carbon County. And I have no aspirations to go higher than what I am. I'm not interested in being on borough council. I'm not interested in being on the school board. I'm not interested in doing other things. I didn't want this seat to go unfilled. Because, it's nothing during a primary, because primaries you vote your party. But when it comes to like the presidential, people all over the world, or all over the country rather, they get very, very passionate about their candidates, and that's when bad behavior happens. So,
sure.
We want to make sure that everybody, if you're going to do a write-in for Daffy Duck, that you have the ability, nobody's harassing you, you're provided the pen, you want to make sure that everybody has a chance to express their opinion, whatever it is, and whether I agree with it or not. Women fought very hard for the right to vote, and
True.
It's important that we protect everybody's right to vote, So I'm very, very passionate about it. That's the one thing I retained after all of the in training and working with the government. We as citizens have to express our right to do it. And I love when young people come out to vote. I love when people bring their children. I love that people try to help the elderly get to the polls. Everybody has one voice, that they have a chance to have a voice. And people will say that chance is wasted. My brother's very Republican, and he's always telling me that I throw away my vote by being a third party. I'm like, no, I still have a voice. And I know that maybe my candidates are never going to win, but at least I know that I didn't vote for these clowns operating, that I voted for the person I thought was going to do the best job, and that was Joe Jorgensen. So.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a moral dimension to that people don't recognize. You don't want to contribute to something that's evil, no matter how impractical or unpopular it is.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I think there's this misperception that libertarians are selfish. We're not selfish. We're not. It's not like we're mad. I'm not mad at the Republican Party. I just grew out of, I love the parts of the Republican Party that are about people keeping their money and people, people, sort of the economics of the Republican Party I get right behind. However, I think that, they want to dictate what happens in people's bedrooms. I don't care what people do in their house. As long as it doesn't hurt others, I don't care. I don't want to pay for it, but I don't care. And I think, I don't want to, I don't think it's our business, to mandate all the different things. Like we Republicans will say, well, we want people to have freedom of speech, but then only if it's freedom of speech of things we agree with. And that's not freedom of speech. That's still censorship, So I outgrew those ideals. And it's not that I'm mad at the Republican Party, and I will vote for Republicans from time to time. I voted for Democrats too. I'll vote for the best candidate for the job. But I think the Libertarian Party, there's different facets of the Libertarian Party. We're all very unique. But I think if people had more opportunities to use their money the way they wanted to, they would use it for charity. We have this assumption that people wouldn't use it for charity, which is why we tax them so heavily, so that we can pay for different programs, because we think people won't give, and that's not true. I think I have a little fund. I play the bagpipes. I have a little fund that every time I play, I put money in. It's supposed to buy me a set of bagpipes that I really, really want, but I give away all that money to charity. So libertarians are not selfish. I volunteer a ton. I do a lot of different things with the Girl Scouts and the Red Cross. I volunteer a lot of my time. So this whole idea that libertarians are selfish and don't want to give, that's completely not true. every libertarian I've met has, volunteered thousands of hours and given tons of money to organizations they support.
They want to do it privately, not through the government.
Right. We rely on the government to give the money, but the thing is they're taking our tax money, but we can't account for the money. Right? We don't know where the money actually goes, because what we do know is that the agencies we think are getting the money, they're not getting it. And so where's it going? Well, then you find out from a whistleblower that it might be going to this alien space program. I mean, somebody's paying for that. That's where our money goes. And, maybe that's where our money should go so that we know what's out there. But, we just don't know where our money goes. And when it goes into that sort of tax basket, who the heck knows where it goes? Because you see a lot of agencies that are struggling to survive, and they're supposed to be government funded. And you're thinking, well, I thought my taxes were going to that. I thought that's what we were paying for. And to find out that they're underfunded and understaffed, and, because they can't provide competitive wages, and, where's the money going? I don't know where it's going.
You see it as a black hole.
Yeah, it's a big black hole. But if I have my $10, I know where my $10 goes. If I can keep my $10, I know who I want to give it to.
Sure.
But if the government has it, who knows where it goes to.
So in your local area, what issues are you having your party work on, focusing on?
Well, I think everybody here is looking for some tax relief. Everybody's heavily taxed, so we're definitely working on, I think people are very eager for tax relief. The Republican Party and the Libertarian Party, I think we're very unified in that. And I think we care very much about the environment, because we are farmland that's slowly getting bought up, and builders need to build, right? So they're taking over farmland to build these structures that don't even have tenants. And then they're putting chemicals into the farms, and I think people here are concerned about building and having too much industrial buildings up here, taking away farmland, and I think that's a big issue. I think up here in Carbon County, people are very, very concerned about the national right to firearms, because many people here are firearms owners, including myself. So we're all very, passionate about those rights too. And I would say less so, but I think the Libertarian Party is very, very, very concerned about freedom of speech and expression, because I think our culture is shifting in a way that's making it very difficult to discuss issues, because we have weaponized language. And so it's hard to sit down and talk about any kind of issue, because, then accusations fly about, being a certain kind of person, or being a certain kind of dogmatic, stance or whatever. So I think it makes it very difficult to have conversations, because we've weaponized language.
So what activities are you doing to get the word out and to advance your local party?
We actually don't do a whole lot. We don't do a whole lot because, we let people know we're here. The people, we're a very small community. Mm-hmm. So everybody knows, I moved to Palmerton in 2019, and I play the bagpipes. I volunteer for Red Cross. They know I'm a libertarian lady, and I let the through hikers that are hiking the Appalachian Trail stay in my yard. So they know that I'm all those things. So if they have questions about libertarianism, they'll come to me. We don't actively recruit, because so many people here are Republican, and sort of, they're very tied to that party. But we let people know there's an option. We have gone to little fairs and things like that to hand out information about the Libertarian Party. We've asked to be part of debates. If we have a candidate, we've asked to be part of debates. On the local level, they're fine with that, and our newspapers cover it. But at the national level, we don't get that same coverage.
So it sounds like you're doing more of a pull type of advocacy rather than a push type of advocacy.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Sounds
I think that's the thing to do.
Well, I think, maybe one day that might change. Like for now,
Sure.
I think that works just because of the makeup of our county. But I think as more industries try to come up and take up over our farmland and our farmers feel displaced and our workers, the pandemic hit us really, really hard up in Carbon County. We have a lot of veterans. We have a lot of people that, that have served this country and are just amazing, amazing people. I think as they're going to push back on sort of like the cities creeping in. I think they're going to really push back. And I feel like if I could predict the future, if I had a crystal ball, that's what's coming. Having to push away these bigger towns that are running out of room to build stuff. So they're going to try to build up here, and then we'll become, Allentown North or whatever. I think that's really what's going to happen. And that's really when the Libertarian Party is going to have to really step up and really join forces with the Republican Party to make sure that doesn't happen.
All right. So, Beth, kindly tell our audience how they can support you and your party.
Well, we're on Facebook. We're the Carbon County Libertarian Party. We are on Facebook. You can also friend me on Beth Ritter-Guth. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn, all under my name, Beth Ritter-Guth. And you can email me at bethritterguth@gmail.com. And if you want to learn more about the party, or if you want to get active in the party here, or if you want to chat or anything. There's, we're small but mighty, and we're excited to at least have a voice here, and people are very receptive and kind about our message.
All right, that sounds good.
All right, well, thank you so much for having me, Andrew. I really appreciate it.
We're glad to have you, and we wish you all the best in your activities, and we hope your party keeps doing great things.
Great, thank you so much. Take care.
You too. Bye now.
Bye-bye.